the hard place. Like a wind from Goldland he sweeps by, blown far from his homeland in search of glory and honor. We walk in the garden of his turbulence.
Hello and welcome to Movie Joust. My name is Jesse Nussman, a film critic living here in Atlanta, Georgia. And with me on the other line, we make an Ocean's 3. It's Jason Evans and Josh Sewell. Well, welcome, guys.
Hello.
I love that. That was we are the Ocean's 3. Yeah. Who is the Matt Damon? Who is the George Clooney? And who is the Brad Pitt of our trio?
I feel like I'm clearly the Matt Damon since I'm the youngest. The young,
Matt
inexperienced
Damon.
pup on the...
Which one of us wears the weirdest clothes? That would be the Brad Pitt, right?
or who just snacks the most. So it's
That'd
got to be
probably be
Jason
me.
then.
I think I'm Brad Pitt. Yes, I'm definitely the one who snacks the most. I'm the guy who's constantly eating popcorn and M&Ms in movies.
Guys, we're here because we're sort of talking about the Ocean's movies, but not really. We're talking about the career of Mr. Steven Soderbergh, because Steven Soderbergh has actually 2 movies this year. Josh talked about Presence a few weeks back, and I actually caught up with it the other night. But Sodi's got a new one cooking this weekend. It's called Black Bag. It's really, really good. In fact, I think it's probably one of like his best movies in quite a while, which is to not say that his movies lately have been bad, but just of like, that's how good this one is.
Yeah, just on another level.
Yeah. So, guys, before we kind of get into that movie and talk about how it fits in with like Soderbergh's wider filmography and some of our other Soderbergh favorites, what does Steven Soderbergh mean to you guys? Like, to me, I think of him as like, you know, a director who I'm always excited to see what he's doing. Even if I don't always enjoy it, I always walk out being like, cool experiment. And like, he seems to jostle between like small little indie movies that are mostly him kind of wanting to try stuff, and then like kind of just down the middle, smartly made mainstream Hollywood movies with big movie stars in them. You know, he's someone who like reveres the kind of career that someone like Howard Hawks had, where you just sort of like hop from genre to genre and get to work with like a variety of different movie stars. So even if he's someone who's like, I wouldn't put him in like a top 10 personally of like favorite filmmakers of mine, but anytime he has a new movie, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what Soderbergh has in store.
It's kind of an amazing career, because I vividly remember when he said, first of all, he's like the original independent filmmaker. And by that I mean Sex, Lies, and Videotape is considered the film that sort of broke the Hollywood model, and that everyone went, oh, independent filmmaking. This is it debuted at Cannes, it won the Palme d'Or, and everyone in Hollywood said, this is a new auteur that we are getting. And it was, but at the same time, and he is someone who has resisted the studio system, but at the same time, he's the guy who can give you the Ocean's films or the Magic Mike films that are the epitome of big star, a bunch of big stars gathered on big sets. And he doesn't do a lot of special effects kind of stuff, but he's a guy who just moves so seamlessly between the huge and the small, and never loses a sense of who he is. And I was starting to say, I remember vividly when he said, I'm done. Like, he was like, I'm not going to make movies anymore. And I was like, no!
Sad day.
Please don't do that. You're in your prime. Please don't do this to us. And luckily, he's gone back on that. But he's someone he's just impossible to put into a box, because his filmography is so varied. I feel like, there are a lot of the greats where you can tell, I can tell I'm watching a Scorsese film. I can tell I'm watching a Spielberg, stuff like that. Look, we get it. I don't know that you can tell you're watching a Soderbergh film, because he does so much really, really different stuff.
And pretty much like is in the mode, like he kind of brags now, like, I shoot my own movies, I edit them, like it takes like 20 days for him to like make a movie.
Yeah.
And like his crews are very, very smart. Like he seems to operate, even though he's working with, the biggest stars in Hollywood, he operates like a small independent filmmaker, because he's just like, I don't want to deal with like the BS of like waiting around. Like I like just making stuff.
Yeah, and as you can see from, put this year, you know, we're 3 months in and he's got 2 movies. He's just so fast. Like, there are stories
Mhm.
of him having, you know, rough cuts of the film ready at the wrap party. You know, like, let's look at what we've done over the past, you know, 20 days. It's here. You know, one of the first filmmakers to really take advantage of, you know, evolving technology, like, you know, one of the first filmmakers to shoot like full-blown features on iPhones with
Yeah.
movies like Unsane and High Flying Bird. So to have a guy who's sort of at the forefront of multiple shifts in the way we make movies is shows just how long he's been doing this and how good he is at not really reinventing himself, because he's kind of stayed true to who he is his whole career, but how good he is at adapting to whatever, you know, the industry throws at us.
So let's talk about his new movie Black Bag, which is a Jean Le Carré-esque spy movie set in London that has huge cast. The center two is Michael Fassbender and Cate Blanchett, and them as two spies who are married to each other, but who have to keep secrets from each other because of the nature of their work. And this is a movie that I think I'm curious what you guys think about it, because you guys are the two people in this chat that are actually married. But like, I kind of walked out of this movie being like, okay, he's Trojan horsing like a spy movie, but really I feel like this is just as much sort of in the same ballpark as something like Sex, Lies, and Videotape, in that it is a movie about like the trust between you and your partner, and about like what you're willing to sort of give up and take in a relationship, and seeing that play out amongst not just the Michael Fassbender and the Cate Blanchett character. It should be mentioned the Michael Fassbender character is having to like weed out a rat that's possibly, or in the sort of MI6 building, but you also have this like huge cast of characters, including what's the guy's name from Bridgerton?
Regé
I'm
Jean
scared
Page.
Yes, thank you. I was scared I was going to mispronounce it.
He's gorgeous. I mean,
Naomi Harris, my beloved Marissa Abella from Industry, Tom Burke.
she nearly steals the movie. She's incredible.
Yeah, her and I like Tom Burke, who people might recognize from stuff like Mank, or he was in Furiosa last year, but was like incredible in the Souvenir movies, if anyone's ever seen those. And I just like loved seeing him just chewing scenery again. And then you have like Naomi Harris and Pierce Brosnan coming in for a few scenes, and it's that like typical playful atmosphere that Soderbergh creates, but it really is a movie that is all about like people who are in relationships and situationships with each other, but they work in this secretive business, and like how much are they willing to share with their partner or the person that you're sleeping with about like the secretive stuff you may be doing. And you can kind of, I think, forget about some of the spy specifics of it, like what are they looking for, what does it do, what does it mean for the world stakes, and it's actually about like what does it mean for the stakes of these characters, and can they trust the people around them.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. This is a classic MacGuffin movie. Like the thing at the center of the plot does not matter. Like, it's a doohickey that they have to get, or bad stuff's going to happen. Like, what is fun about it is how they use that as a jumping off point into the fun sort of plots and double crosses and secrets
right,
that
Josh.
these
If I
characters
can,
are keeping.
it's not about the doohickey. The film's about the people.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's really fun to, kind of like Jesse said, to watch him Trojan horse not only, you know, the doohickey, but also, hey, I'm going to use this, you know, James Bond style movie to tell basically a small story about relationships and do a character study with these people whose job it is to remain as blank as possible.
Yeah, well, they are all expert liars. Like literally, their job is secrets. And Michael
Can you
Fassbender's
have a
job.
trustful marriage if you and your wife's job is to basically lie to people all day long? And like, how can you trust that person?
Right. Well, and part of what happens in this movie is Marissa Abella spends half the movie being like, how can I be in a relationship where my job is to lie and my partner's job is to lie and everyone else around me does nothing but lie? She's just like losing her mind over this.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of, to me, it's impossible not to compare this at least a little bit. It has that Ocean's 11 caper kind of thing happening to it, like where we don't know everything that's happening, but we see little pieces of it. It also has elements of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the absolutely classic, spy versus spy kind of movie in Michael Fassbender and Cate Blanchett's relationship. And by the way, they just openly talk about they literally are lying in each other's arms, and they're talking about how much they would lie for each other and how much they would betray and it's kind of
and yet even then like the title of the movie comes from this like phrase that's basically like a like relationship code word that's basically like,
right.
I can't talk about that. Like if they're like having their coffee at the morning dinner table and are like, what are you up to today at work? If the Cate Blanchett character basically is like, I can't tell you what I'm going to go do today as part of our spy job.
Right. She says black bag. She says black bag.
Which is their sort of code word for leave it. Like I'm sorry, I can't tell you everything. Like we can't have that transparency in our relationship.
Yeah, and like Jason was saying, like I think the reminiscent feel to the Ocean's movies is a little intentional. You've got David Holmes, who did the score for the Ocean movies, doing the score for this. It has that kind of jazzy feel to it where even the score feels a little sneaky, and it's got like, it's just really good looking, cool people being mostly really good at their jobs. Well,
and Josh, I loved the opening scene. The movie opens with us following Michael Fassbender like into a club. And I was like, I first of all, it's an incredible single take. I think, Josh, I leaned over to you and I was like, oh, I'm in a Soderbergh film.
Yeah.
It felt so Ocean's 11. Like you're over Danny Ocean's shoulder as he's walking through the casino. In this movie, you're over Michael Fassbender's shoulder and he's walking through a club and you're just following him. And it's amazing that a filmmaker can sort of make you feel things as all you're doing is moving along and having a conversation. I want to, by the way, really quick shout out David Koepp's script. David Koepp
so
is
good.
David Koepp is one of the great filmmakers in Hollywood. Like if I went through his filmography of the movies he's written, you'd be like, what? Oh, yeah. Like it's an oh my god list. Considering he's not a guy who you immediately go, that's one of the, the regular people aren't going to be like, wait, who? David Koepp? This is one of his best scripts. This script is so damn tight. There's not a wasted word on the screen. The movie moves at an incredible pace. It's an hour and a half, and you were just, from that opening scene where you're going in the club, you're hooked, you're in it. Mm-hmm. You never get out of it. There's not a wasted moment throughout the entire thing. There's not a wasted character or conversation. And when it finally wraps up, you're just like, okay, I can release my breath. And you're thrilled that you spent 90 minutes with these characters in this world and listening to one of the best scripts in Hollywood. There are already critics that we know. They're friends of ours who've already said, best original screenplay, David Koepp is getting a nomination.
Yeah, it's just like a really clever screenplay too, I think, in just like the dialogue and what characters are saying to each other and kind of the very coded way that they're sort of like half giving each other information, or sort of like that what they're saying to each other is sort of disguised as a pleasantry, but is maybe something a little bit more sinister, or maybe, like a little bit more kind of like get off my back, or you're a little in over your head, but just sort of finding kind of like the most, I don't know, just like fun, sumptuous way of kind of like dressing someone down, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and the thing that's interesting to me about it, or the thing that amazes me, is that a screenplay this dense with, characters doing multiple things at one time, like having a conversation with somebody when it's actually about something else. Like there's a lot of like crisscrosses and misdirects, but the the screenplay doesn't feel like it's working to do that. Like a lot of times you watch a movie and you're like, this screenplay is like really trying hard, and Kep's writing in this just feels effortless. Like it feels like it just flows straight through. And for a guy to have as varied a career as Kep does, like his filmography, like Jason was saying, is as varied as Soderbergh. Like this is the second time they worked together. Like the same guy that wrote this wrote Presence, and it's the same guy that wrote Jurassic Park. You know, like it's none of these feel
And
like they're made by
Spider-Man
the
and
same
half the
guy.
Indiana Jones films, and yeah.
He's
exactly.
like really one of the like signature like blockbuster screenwriters I think of.
Yeah.
I also want to just mention, first of all, I think all three of us would say, if you're listening to this podcast and you have not seen Black Bag, get your ass to the theater and see Black Bag.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want from a movie if like you aren't interested in seeing even if you're one of those people where it's like half the fun I had was like I came out and I was like sweaters, jackets, kitchens, and it was just like
cool
the way
glasses.
that like, this whole movie is just sort of like styled is also just sort of like even if you want to shut your brain off and just sort of like luxuriate in it, like you can do that as well.
But I was going to say, as we continue to talk about the script a little bit, there is a dinner, a night, a party, so to speak, sitting around the dinner table, conversation that the six main characters have that is so outrageously good. It's like the middle third of the movie or so. I would have stayed at that dinner table and continued to listen to them have that conversation and react to it. Oh my God. I would have stayed there for hours. It's
even
so
if that was
great.
the whole movie, Jason, like I would have just like sat and like watched that entire thing if the whole thing was just like, okay, it's Michael Fassbender's got to figure out who the mole is, and the whole thing is just going to be this dinner party with coworkers where, people, the tensions are high and people are sleeping with each other and are like jealous of each other, and like him kind of slowly like maneuvering the dials on the switchboard to try and see like, okay, can I get someone to crack and maybe spill something that they shouldn't.
It's the human lie detector against 5 professional liars. I mean, how great is that?
And not only that, but like you were saying, like it's such a long scene that it goes on long enough that you start thinking maybe this is the whole movie. Maybe this is going to be the rest of the movie. And then the second thought is I'm okay with that.
Oh yeah.
Like just to watch the camera follow these people around the table and watch these little subtle, minute changes in facial expression, like it's just really, really cool. And then you get a mirrored version of that scene towards the end of the film where everybody kind of comes back together once new information has come to light, and you get like a reprise of this that is different but equally good.
Yeah, it's very Agatha Christie in terms of sort of like the collection of characters that you have all around, and then like if you want to think of the Michael Fassbender character as the like, your Benoit Blanc or your Poirot, who's basically just going to give this sort of long speech at the end to basically like point out like you are the person who I've been looking for this entire time. Do we maybe want to like kind of get into our top fives, and we can still kind of discuss Black Bag, but just sort of as sort of a like, hey, if you like this aspect of this Soderbergh movie, you'll like Black Bag for this reason, or if you have seen Black Bag but you haven't seen this other one, maybe you'll like it. You guys want to kind of get into our top fives that way?
Sure.
Who wants to get started? Who's feeling excited?
Well, I mean, I'll say right off the bat, Black Bag's number 4 on my list of the best Soderbergh movies.
Okay.
I mean,
Josh, did it make your top 5?
Not yet, but that's just because I was worried about recency bias, but I could totally see it making it in there eventually. Yeah. It's that good. It's really fun.
Yeah, I had Sex, Lies, and Videotape as my number 5, which, Jason, you already brought up, and, I don't know what much more there is to say than what you said. Like, it is one of the signature American independent movies of all time, and it is the movie of his I thought the most of, kind of walking out of this one of like, oh, that would be a really cool double feature because they are kind of about similar things, and that movie is even more stripped down to like, it really is just like 4 characters, and you just sort of being like on the edge of your seat and totally absorbed for like 90 minutes about like the weird kind of pervy tanglement that like these 4 characters have found themselves in. If you've never seen Sex, Lies, and Videotape, I highly recommend checking it out. There's a great Criterion re-release of it from a few years back. So excellent independent film.
Yeah. So for my number 5, I'm gonna go with I think I'm going with Contagion, because it is just another example of his talent at working with a ton of famous actors, taking multiple different storylines and weaving them together in a way that, even though there's a ton going on, you never feel lost. You always kind of know where you are in the story, and terrifyingly prescient. Like 10 years later,
basically everything except the very end of that movie came true during the actual COVID pandemic.
Yeah, and I remember, like, I saw it first and in the theater and just walked out shaken. And when it came out on DVD, a few months later, showed my wife, who is a biology teacher, and I just looked at her, and she just had this blank stare, and I was like, "What'd you think?" She was like, "Well, I mean, yeah, that's just how it's going to happen." And she just said it so matter-of-factly. I was like, and that doesn't terrify you?
Yeah.
And yeah, and less than 10 years later, we see, that's one of the movies that got watched a lot during quarantine, which is just sort of like, staring the monster in the face a little bit.
Yeah.
For my number 5, I went with Logan Lucky, which is basically Ocean's 11 at a NASCAR race.
Right. It's Hillbilly Ocean's 11.
Yeah, I called it Redneck Ocean's 11.
I
Yeah.
mean, but it's just such a fun movie. Channing Tatum is great. Adam Driver is off the charts good in this movie.
Hilarious.
He is, with the fake hand. It's just everything about it is just Daniel Craig as like this munitions expert. It's an incredibly fun time at the movies.
Yeah.
It will look. I don't know where Ocean's 11 is going to fall on you. When we get to Ocean's 11, it's my number 1. I think that's the most fun I've ever had in a Soderbergh film. But you can come very, very close to it with different characters and not quite as much Hollywood beauty and Las Vegas opulence in Logan Lucky. And Lucky, it's just it is a fabulous film that is super enjoyable, and it's very much Soderbergh's style of letting great actors cook, letting a great screenplay, do its thing and lead you along. It is another film that is tight. I'm trying to think of, is there a Soderbergh film that you go, that's a little bit bloated? I don't think so. He doesn't know. It's like not possible.
Because even like when, we could probably do the like silly nitpick of like, do we need this scene in this movie or something? But like his movies are always like moving at such a clip that like especially the like Hollywood ones, like I'm rarely like some of the like weirder like experimental stuff, like
sometimes
there's some of those where it's like, that's cool you tried that, but that was a little bit of a slog to sit through. But like the poppier ones, which I feel like are the ones that us three I think have kind of glommed onto a little bit more. Yeah, that they're just sort of moving at such a clip, and everyone is having so much fun making them that like even when they take digressions, you're like, I'm thrilled that like we went to this little like, Logan Lucky has that weird little interlude with like Sebastian Stan and Seth MacFarlane in it that like even still you're just sort of like, these guys came to play, and like I kind of can't be mad at this. So my number 4 is one I think is criminally underrated. Was not very well received at the time, but it's Ocean's 12, which is him making a sequel to probably his most famous movie that is in a meta way about like the Ocean's crew trying to redo, can they pull off another heist again? And it is even more kind of like European influence, not just because it's set in like Amsterdam, and I believe has some sections in Paris, but like it it's just a much more playful movie aesthetically than even the first one is, and Soderbergh is just like having so much fun kind of like pushing up against expectations of like, oh, you think this is going to happen because it played out this way in the first movie, but actually we're going to pivot. And there's all this other like fun meta stuff with him playing with sort of the movie star personas of the entire cast. There's, I'm thinking of the Julia Roberts sequence later in the movie. It's just like, that's a movie that I've always been shocked that I was a kid when it came out, so I did not see it in the theaters. So maybe you guys can better explain where we were as a culture. But I've always felt like this movie is arguably just as fun as the first one, and is him kind of doing a fun, wacky European caper, and yet is like playing with a lot of meta humor in sort of coming back to the Oceans franchise. I even think it's better than 13, which 13 is fun, but this one I think is way more playful and way more, surprising in places than that one is.
All right, I'm going to dump on it a little bit. It is an enjoyable film. It's a good movie. There's no question about that. I don't think it's even in the same ballpark as the original, as Ocean's 11. I understand what Soderbergh was going for and what he was doing, playing with the notion of a sequel and the notion of stardom and the such. I kind of hate the part where Julia Roberts plays someone who looks like Julia Roberts.
I thought it was funny.
On paper, I see it as I see why people like it. It took me completely out of the movie. I was like, well, so does George Clooney look like George Clooney? Does Matt Damon look like Matt Damon?
Yeah.
I'm a little confused. What are our boundaries here? If we're going to go ahead and say that that the character Julia Roberts is playing looks like Julia Roberts and that's part of the plot, what does it say about everybody else in the film? Is Bruce Willis playing Bruce Willis or playing someone who looks like it took me out of the film, and I thought it was a little bit lazy. I also found the entire, I completely understood at the end of the movie of Ocean's 11, you understand exactly what the scheme was, how they put it together, and how it all worked, and how they got away with the money, and you're like, that is brilliant. And the same thing in Ocean's 13, although it's not executed nearly as well. In Ocean's 12, I was like, wait, they stole what? And what? Huh? I was just a little confused.
It is definitely the most, I would say, convoluted of the three, but maybe gets to kind of what we were sort of talking about with Black Bag, of sort of being like, the more times I've watched it, the like less interested I am in sort of the like how all the pieces of the Jenga tower kind of all fit together, and mostly just sort of like having fun with the ride and kind of all the different personalities in that movie playing off each other, as well as Brad Pitt and Catherine Zeta-Jones just being total hotties for 2 hours. Kind of can't complain.
Yeah, I do see why it might have rubbed them the wrong way, because this is one of the many movies in the 2000s that comes across, at least at first, like a bunch of rich people getting paid to hang out in Italy.
Yeah.
And which, more power to you if you can make it work. But I feel like a lot of viewers were like, not me, but I enjoyed it, but it feels like a lot of viewers were like, wait, I'm buying a ticket to help pay for you to do all this cool stuff. So I could see, why it didn't really catch on, at least at first. But yeah, I agree with you that over the years, I feel like its reputation has gotten a little better over time.
So Jason mentioned Black Bag as his number 4. What would be your number 4, Josh?
So I think my number 4 is probably Aaron Brockovich. And that's,
I've got it at number 2.
Okay.
Oh, I'm glad you guys brought. I was really like wrestling back and forth between doing that or Sex, Lies, and Videotape, and
yeah,
I ended up going with the other one because I was like, I have a feeling we'll get a chance to talk about Aaron Brockovich. That'd be weird if we didn't.
Yeah, and it's just one of another. He had a crazy 2000. It was just a crazy doubleheader year between that and Traffic. I always felt like Aaron Brockovich was the better movie of two really good movies.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not. I feel like it's not quite as ambitious as Traffic, but it's much better at being a character study.
It is worth noting that Steven Soderbergh in 2000, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The
yeah.
year that both those two films came out, is the only director in the modern era to have been nominated for Best Director twice in 1 year. Both those,
Right.
Traffic and Aaron Brockovich, get Best Director nominations. I want you to just think about how insane that is. He, by the way, swept all the directors, all the directing awards. He swept them that year, but with different films.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That someone could do that. And you talked, Jesse, earlier about the fact that, he just, not that he bangs these things. We don't want to imply that this is easy, not by any stretch of the imagination, but the fact that he was able to do those two films, two incredibly different films in the same year, is just such a testament to his craft and his ability to be this, shifting guy that just does different stuff. Aaron Brockovich is an incredibly enjoyable, it's not a caper film, but it almost has that, because of the courtroom drama kind of stuff happening, where you don't know the result and you're trying to figure out how to get to the result. It has that kind of caper feel to it at times. And frankly, the scene at the end where Aaron Brockovich, where she gets the check, the bonus check, is just,
she's fine.
Yeah,
she's finally speechless.
It's so perfect, and the film does such a good job of setting up that relationship, the relationship she has with Albert Finney throughout the whole movie. We talk about the fact that Soderbergh does an incredible job of telling stories, but what he really does is he does an incredible job of getting characters together, making us care about those characters, making them care about each other, and having us invested in the outcome of their relationship. And there may be no better example of that than Aaron Brockovich.
Yeah, and it's
Jason,
just
you may
another.
want to check your mic setting. I don't know. Your audio sounds different now, but I'll make an Aaron Brockovich point while you check and see if anything's going on. Yeah, it's just it also sort of gets to the thing of like, he's maybe like the best filmmaker in dealing with movie stars. Like, if you think about it, like Aaron Brockovich, like that's up there with Pretty Woman, is like one of Julia Roberts' like signature, just like perfect roles. And like the way that Soderbergh is just so talented at like finding like the right role for the right movie star, and just so perfectly understanding, like it even gets in the black bag, like, understanding that there's something a little mysterious about Cate Blanchett, or understanding that, Michael Fassbender, there's something a little like cold and robotic about him, and how to like play in with that. And that's Aaron Brockovich is just such a perfect example of him. Like, this is what Julia Roberts is great at, and let's like lean into that, and the rest will take care of itself.
And yeah, it's also one of the many examples of, like you were saying, how good he is with actors, because you have so many of the same actors working with him again and again and again, like signing up for whatever it is, whatever, however big or small the role is. You see the same faces popping up throughout his filmography, which I think is a testament to their, respect for him as a filmmaker, and also just how much they enjoy working with him.
Okay. So who's next? Who had Aaron Brockovich? That was you, Josh?
That was me. Yeah, that was my number 4, and it was Jason's number 2.
It's my number 2. Am I ever going to get to do one of these?
By the way, your audio does sound better now.
Oh, good. Thank you very much.
Yes. So
are we on to number 3s? Are we on to number 3s?
Yeah,
now?
I think we're at number 3s. So my number 3 is another one I think is pretty underrated, which is The Limey, which is like Soderbergh kind of doing like, it's kind of his version of Taken. Like it's basically him doing kind of like a nasty revenge movie where Terrence Stamp plays this British gangster that learns that his daughter has died in Los Angeles, and that this like wealthy, I forget if they specify like what he does for a living, the Peter Fonda character, but let's just say he's like a wealthy, womanizing Hollywood Hills man. And Terrence Stamp is like, I'm going to come to Los Angeles and I'm going to find this guy and I'm going to kill him for basically like bringing my daughter to her death. And Soderbergh finds the most interesting way of playing this scenario that you feel like you've seen before playing it out in this very unorthodox experimental way that totally works for the movie and makes it so surprising, in which he's kind of mixing kind of like, you know, the audio and the visuals in a way to where like you're hearing characters like monologue from one scene, but then you're seeing the action play out from another scene. And it sounds like it would be confusing, but it actually isn't. And you're sort of like, oh, holy cow, like how has no one else like thought to try this or something like that? And it just has this very traditional story that you feel like you've seen before play out in this really experimental and kind of unusual way. He's using footage from this other Terrence Stamp movie that came out in the 60s as like, and recontextualizing it as like flashback footage for the story he's telling. It's just a really, really creative movie that like is him at maybe his most experimental and successfully experimental, while also it still works as this like very pop revenge movie. Have either of you guys seen The Limey before, or what do you think about it?
I have, and it's like Terrence Stamp is just not someone that we expect to be in the leading man or you know, to carry the film kind of role. He's someone who's usually a supporting character, and he does such a great job in this movie. I agree with you. It's very experimental, but it's also so it's super taut. It's really tight.
Yeah.
It's another one of these Soderbergh movies that's like 89, 90 minutes, and like you're in there the whole damn time.
I'm glad you brought up the tightness, because I think that fits in with what's experimental about it is him from an efficiency standpoint being like, why do I need a scene of two characters giving exposition and then have a like montage of action? Why can't I just put the audio of the exposition over the montage of action that they were either doing earlier or before? And you would think that would be confusing, but it's actually not. And you're like, holy crap, is he like rewriting language as I'm watching it?
It is. It's kind of an editing masterpiece or disaster, depending on your point of view.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, there's no way to say it other than it is very experimental. It is very unusual. It is not a typical movie-going experience, but it is a really interesting film with some wonderful performances. And yeah, Soderbergh's just kind of, he's like, yeah, I'm going to do this unexpected thing with the way I'm going to present this film to you. And it's if you're a cinephile, you need to check it, Limey out.
Yeah. Okay. Jason, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is a film that, functionally for Americans, was not in theaters, Behind the Candelabra, which is the movie he made about the final years of Liberace's life and Liberace's relationship with his lover, because at that time, you know, you couldn't get married and stuff like that. It really, I saw it on HBO. I'm sure that's where virtually everyone here saw the film. It features just two incredible performances from Michael Douglas and Matt Damon. I think that it is a film that, like I said earlier, I feel like Soderbergh gets you into characters and relationships. That's one of the masterful things that he really does. And this is a film that's all about a relationship. I just think it's a beautiful, amazing movie. I don't know why. I wish it hadn't been this HBO thing, because I feel like more people would have gotten to see it. It would be considered a bit more of a masterpiece. I just think it's an outstanding film, and it takes you inside of a relationship that was forbidden. And, you know, like the whole world knew that Liberace was gay, but he wasn't allowed to be. And it's a little weird to see it today, because our feelings about this kind of stuff is very different than it was back then. When Michael Douglas and Matt Damon kiss in this movie, I remember being like, oh my God, like that was a little bit taboo.
I feel like that kind of fits into like why it just sort of wound up on HBO. Like I want to say there was an interview in the last few years where Damon basically said like, you know, they were trying for so long, and like even with Douglas and Damon attached, like they couldn't get a distributor for it. And like, even, you know, we can throw this person under the bus because he's a piece of shit anyway. But Damon basically saying like Harvey Weinstein telling them like, this movie's too gay, people won't go see it. Like, I can't give you guys the money for this. And then it ended up just sort of being this HBO TV movie. And as you said, Jason, everyone who watched it was like, this is one of the best movies of the year. And like, I don't understand like the homophobia and the sort of like cowardice of like mainstream Hollywood like did not want to like release this and give it like an awards campaign, basically.
I mean, it wins all these Emmys. Michael Douglas won lead the lead actor in a limited series or movie Emmy. It wins the outstanding television movie Emmy. It wins outstanding directing.
It played at Cannes.
Yeah,
It was up for the Palme d'Or.
Yeah, I'm convinced that had this, and I guess it was too early. People just weren't ready for this yet. But it's just a crime because it's a great film, and I feel like it's 2013. It's only 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And there probably are a lot of people listening who haven't seen it. Check out Rotten Tomatoes. It films at 94% of Rotten Tomatoes. It's a great movie.
It's really is like I think the last like really lights out Michael Douglas performance I can remember, and like one of my sneak favorite Matt Damon performances of like Matt Damon is so good in it and is so, I don't know, he's so like playful and soft in it. It's just a side of Damon and playing with like the likability of Damon that is really special. Josh, you wanna share your number 3?
Yeah, so my number 3, and this one I'm gonna put like an asterisk by, is Magic Mike. It's not the movie that introduces us to Channing Tatum, but it's the movie that really shows us, before this, he was the step-up guy. He was, and I think the combination of this and 21 Jump Street coming so close together just shows you a range that, that shows...
Channing Tatum had a good year.
Yeah. And so, like, not only that, but it also shows that he's capable of really good things if he's working with the right director. Like, not everybody can get, not everybody clicks with Channing Tatum the way that Soderbergh does. Like, Quentin Tarantino didn't click with Channing Tatum, in Hateful Eight. So, like, it's not a talent thing at all. It's just sometimes he meshes well with filmmakers and sometimes he doesn't. But to take this persona that he had at that time as sort of just a meathead and to give this character, like, hopes and dreams and a soul, and yet, it got written off as like the male stripper movie, but this is a movie that helped reignite, what do we call it, the McConaissance or whatever. You've got Matthew McConaughey giving a very sort of using his charisma very against type as sort of like the oily villain of the movie, and people joked it, but I don't really think it's a joke. Somebody called it like the stripper Great Gatsby. Like, it's dealing with a lot of the same themes. It's
about the 2008 financial crisis in
absolutely
a weird way.
Yeah, instead of the 20s, it's the economic collapse. And the only reason that I am going with this one is because Soderbergh didn't technically direct, and I'm using finger quotes here that people can't see, he didn't technically direct Magic Mike XXL. He kind of did. He was the DP and his friend was the director. If he was actually credited as the director, I think XXL is the stronger of the two movies. I think everybody agrees that 3 doesn't really work. It was an interesting idea, and
he did direct 3, by the way.
He did direct 3, yeah.
Magic Mike's Last Dance, I think it's called.
Yeah. And so I'm saying Magic Mike with an asterisk because it's really Magic Mike XXL, but he's not going to come right out and say he directed that. So
yeah, XXL is a more fun movie of like, if the first one is about basically like trying to make it in America amid the financial crisis, the second one is just like about the joy of dancing.
Yeah, and it's just and about just like the camaraderie that guys can have when you don't have all that like macho posturing. I don't think it's an accident that the tone is much lighter because the antagonists of the first movie are removed. You don't have McConaughey. You don't have... Who's that guy that they were trying to make a thing for a while? Or just more Alex Pettyfer? Is that who it is?
Yeah. Oh my God.
So neither of these guys are in the movie.
4.
Yeah. Oh God. And he's kind of the weak link of the first movie anyway. And so when both of them are removed, XXL is just purely the more fun. But if you're looking for like substance and context, Magic Mike is going to be, the one you pick for that. But they're both really great movies.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, the thing that always struck me about Magic Mike is you're expecting, based on the commercials, the marketing, everything else, you're expecting like, oh, I'm going to go have fun watching a male strip show. And there's some of that for sure. I mean, like the dancing Channing Tatum is really impressive. And Soderbergh does a great job of presenting it to you. But like you guys said, I mean, there is a very serious, dark story at the core here. And I think one of the reasons Magic Mike doesn't get as much, perhaps, recognition as it should is because audiences are sort of like, wait a second, I didn't know I was watching a film about these people like having super complicated relationships and needing the money and where's it going to come from? There's like a lot baked in here.
He's like, I didn't think I was getting The Big Short here.
Yeah, exactly. We've talked a lot about Soderbergh sort of shoehorning something else unexpected into what you're actually getting, and I think that audiences have had a little more trouble. It's kind of weird. To me, Magic Mike is almost remembered better than what it was at the time. Like at the time, people were a little bit like, what is this? This wasn't what I expected. And now people look back on it. We've gotten, 2 sequels and everything, and it's this franchise. I think it's because they sort of just remember the YouTube clips of Channing Tatum dancing. But there's a very serious character story that's happening inside the film about male strippers.
Yeah. It kind of feels like the poppier version of, I don't know if you guys have seen a movie he did a few years before that, the Girlfriend Experience, but like, which sort of feels like a trial run for Magic Mike, and like, I want to tell a story about economics, but I want to tell it through sex work, for lack of a better word. And sort of that movie is a little like, it's a cool idea, but it's almost like a little like too cold and intellectual. And in Magic Mike, kind of, he finds that right balance with like a subject matter he's interested in and a vessel to tell it, but also that thing that we were kind of talking about with Aaron Brockovich of like, no one has like really gotten like what Channing Tatum is good at as a movie star, and I'm gonna like show the world that like this guy is more than just sort of like a hunky body, basically. That like this guy is actually like charming, and you will like love watching him for 2 hours.
And by the way, while we're just because we're all about Soderbergh and how he zags when you expect him to zig and all this other kind of stuff, the Girlfriend Experience stars a porn star, stars Sasha Grey, who's one of the sort of legendary porn stars of all time. I'm not going to get into a discussion of her career.
Tell us more, Jason.
Yeah, right, exactly. But for Steven Soderbergh to be like, I'm going to make this, interesting film about sex work starring an actual sex worker, not, he doesn't choose a conventional actress to be the star. It's very Soderbergh to be just like, again, I'm not going to do what you expect me to do. The Girlfriend Experience is not a great film.
It's interesting, but I would maybe only watch it if you want to be like a completist or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a prediction. Do we all have the same top 2?
I think so.
Well, wait, I have Aaron Brockovich as my number 2.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well,
so
what
Josh,
is your? Are
my
you
number 2 is out of sight. Is that what you have as your number 2,
right.
Josh?
That's my number 1.
Oh, okay.
Why don't we let's do Out of Sight and Ocean's 11.
And Ocean's 11.
Yeah,
Which to
Ocean's
me
is my 2. Like Ocean's is 2, and Out of Sight is 1 for me.
Yeah. 2 of the most rewatchable movie star vehicles of certainly my lifetime. Movies that like anytime they're on cable, I'm like, oh, I gotta fire this up. I love Elmore Leonard, and like this along with Jackie Brown are like, okay, Soderbergh and Tarantino got like the nailed best, like the tone that's great about Elmore Leonard novels. And then I mean, Ocean's 11, like what is there to say anymore other than just like it is every single moment, no matter how small, is just so perfectly calibrated and fun. And whether you're, as we said, kind of watching how all the Jenga tower pieces fit together in the heist, or you just want to enjoy the camaraderie of like hanging out with this group of people, you can enjoy it both ways.
That's what makes the film great. That you want to. Everyone wants to be a member of Ocean's. Everyone wants to be a member of Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
Every single. And what kind of a director? How great do you have to be to let every single one of those actors cook at various moments? There is not a single one of them that doesn't have great moments. The scene where Elliot Gould is describing the only 3 successful robberies in Las Vegas history injected into my veins. I can just watch that over and over and over again. Such a oh god.
The moment I always think about that's like my favorite moment in any, well, both movies have, I think, my 2 favorite Soderbergh moments, which in Ocean's 11, it's just the scene of Pitt and Clooney at the bar, and Pitt is kind of like borderline just like sleeping at the bar.
And Clooney's like, we need another.
Yeah. He's like, you think we need one more? Yeah, we were right. We probably need one more. And Pitt's like not even doing anything.
Doesn't react.
Just knowing like he doesn't need to do anything. He's Brad Pitt. Just like let luxuriate in his hotness being frumpy for a few minutes. And then in Out of Sight, which I think has like, at least in my lifetime, the sexiest coupling on screen ever.
Oh yeah.
Of Clooney at peak hotness and Jennifer Lopez at peak hotness.
Yeah.
And
in a trunk together.
Right. That moment they're in the trunk together and they're just like that like 1940s screwball banter between them is just, it's so fun and so sexy, and it's catnip for me. It's just like, it's such a purely fun experience, and him recognizing what both of those actors were capable of at a period of time when like Clooney's still kind of just a TV guy on ER, and Jennifer Lopez is like, you know, a fairly successful pop singer, but like no one's considering as like that big of a movie star, and him being like, they're, you know, that I can make a like magnificent like 40s screwball comedy crime caper with on the back of both of these movies, and like America's just going to eat it up.
And it's shocking to me, this movie tanked when it opened, because I think people didn't really know what to do.
To be clear, you're talking about Out of Sight, because we've
Out of Sight. Yeah, Oceans obviously did very well, but Out of Sight just bombed, and it was one of the only, you know, I was old enough to start going to movies by myself and everything, but it was one of the first times that I went to see a movie in theaters and had a great time, and then just went, wait, what? Why did nobody see this? And of course now everybody loves it, but you know, it
gotten this
get
big
lucky
reputation through, you know, home video and playing on TV constantly.
That's what I was just about to say, is like, I feel like the way that it sort of gained its reputation, movies don't really get a chance to do anymore. Like, you know, people don't get to find this on DVD if it's on a particular streaming service that you don't have. You're just out of luck and you're never going to watch it, you know? And so I feel like it was one of those last movies to really develop a sort of a second life through word of mouth. But yeah, I'm with you. Some of the best things about Ocean's 11 are just no dialogue whatsoever. It's, you know, Brad Pitt whispering into Carl Reiner's ear at the racetrack and walking away, and him just popping the Alka-Seltzer, you know, or it's Matt Damon sitting on the diving board after everybody's walked away, and Elliot Gould just going, get in the house, you know, like not even giving him the option to walk away. He's like, no, you're coming, get in the house. But yeah, it's just Soderbergh doing what he does best and letting great actors be great.
I mean, and like Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac scenes are so
phenomenal.
When he's buying the van from the used car salesman, and the camera's just on their hands, and Bernie Mac is slowly squeezing this guy's hand, literally squeezing him into a better deal. Oh my God. The film is just, it's just, everything about it is, the interaction between Casey Affleck and Scott Conn.
With the remote control car.
Oh. And what's even weirder is so last year I had never seen it before, and for, you know, shits and giggles, I decided I'm gonna watch the original Ocean's 11 from like the 60s.
Yeah,
that movie's
a Rat Pack.
It's so boring.
Yeah,
it's so like lazy, and everyone's just sort of phoning it in. And it's
I think
just
that's
like,
what people I think the OG Ocean's 11 is what
Yeah.
people think Ocean's 12 is. It's just a bunch of
Yes.
famous people sitting around talking, and you're like, no, watch the original Ocean's 11. You can see how much better this bad movie you think is bad actually is.
Yeah, it was just like such an eye-opening kind of like, wow, that makes me love the Soderbergh version all the more, of like how fun and sort of smartly directed and how energetic everyone is in the cast, with like how sleepy and kind of by the numbers the the original one is. And I don't know, it's that and Jurassic Park are like the two movies that I think I've rewatched the most over my entire lifetime, of just anytime they were on TV growing up, just like, oh, I gotta sit and finish it.
I think to bring it full circle again, I think the reason that we all responded to Black Bag as well as we did is there are bits of all of these other movies from Soderbergh that we love in Black Bag. Obviously, there's Oceans, but there's also the camaraderie of Out of Sight. There's the cool, stylish sleekness of that in there. There's the genuinely menacing bad guy when that's revealed, like what the villain is capable of. Like he's charismatic, but he's also
menacing? Andy Garcia.
yeah.
You hate him. I don't know that he's menacing.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. But or in 12 and 13, Al Pacino is loathsome in 13.
Yes.
Like so. But yeah, like Blackback has all of these little like little combinations of all of these movies in a new package. And again, working with actors he's worked before. Michael Fassbender was in Haywire. Cate Blanchett was in The Good German. I know the less said about that, the better. But it shows that, he respects these actors, and these actors clearly like working with him.
I just feel like you said, Jesse, the reason, and again, we're sort of into ones and twos here. The reason Ocean's 11 is my number one, I go by the rewatchable thing. And it can be the very beginning of Ocean's 11 when we're meeting, when he's getting the crew together, like the scene the scene where Brad Pitt is teaching Topher Grace and Joshua Jackson,
oh my god,
how to play cards.
All the WB kids.
Oh my god! I'll see that scene. I will know that I've got 95 plus minutes, 100 minutes of film to go, and I'm like, oh well, whatever's on my schedule for the next 100 minutes is not happening, because I will not turn off this scene. That is not possible. And I know that right after this, I'm going to get the monster truck, the mini monster truck race, and I'm going to get introduced to Basher, Don Cheadle and the explosives. And I'm just like, I can't. I'm going to have Elliot Gould describing the robberies. I'm done. I must stick with this film. It is, to me, there was no question about the number one Soderbergh film of all time, because this is a combination of him letting great actors cook, having a great, tight, fun screenplay, and just bringing it all together so stylishly. Like, of course, this movie takes place in Vegas. This movie is all style. It is the outfits. Like, I could just watch what Brad Pitt eats. Watch Brad Pitt snack for 2 hours, and you have a great film.
And like you said with Basher, Don Cheadle doing the best British accent since Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins.
Oh my God, it's either the best or the worst.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, guys, this was fun looking over the career of Mr. Steven Soderbergh. Josh, I also wanted to let you know I watched Presence this past week. I rented it now that that's available. Cool movie. Really just like that the guy's always just like experimenting and doing something. Even though I wouldn't say it's like, it's probably mid-tier of like all the movies he's done, but I was like, I'm glad I've like never seen someone attempt this. This is like a cool experiment.
And I thought it was interesting that it opened so close to Nickel Boys, which does something similar but in a much different way. Sort of just changing the way that we take in film.
Yeah. Well, guys, this was fun. Encourage everyone to go out and see Black Bag. And if it doesn't do well, you can't complain about how we don't get original movies anymore. So
all these people that tell me all the time, like, I can't remember the last time I've been to a theater because they just don't make them like they used to. They did. Black Bag is a making it like they used to. Go tell Hollywood this is what we want to spend our money on.
Well, in the coming weeks, I think we're gonna discuss do we wade into the potentially canceled waters of the Snow White movie? Do you think we should do that?
I mean, it's going to be a big box office film. I think we should. I know that there are a lot of people who have already prejudged it, but I want to see it. I will put everything, all the baggage aside, and judge it based on what it is.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I watched The Electric State the other night, and I was gonna suggest that we do that as an episode, but I kind of feel like we're good. I kind of feel like you guys don't need to see it. It's not even it's not even like interesting bad. It'll be a movie I probably bring up like 80 more times this year as just like the antithesis of like everything I hate in a movie, but
yeah, why should we put more work into analyzing it than the Russos did,
Yeah. I think all you need to know is there is a climactic moment set to a sort of epic string orchestral version of "Don't Stop Believing," if that tells you how like basic and
oh my god,
is.
really?
Yeah.